Dana Corrigan. I'm going to be teaching here at the Elite Animation Academy starting in the summer, doing some of the summer camps for their traditional animation courses. Regularly, I teach at the University of South Florida, 2D animation, and at the University of Tampa, I teach digital art, which is kind of like graphic design, a mix of graphic design, sound editing, video editing, a little bit of animation in there too. I've been teaching for about 4 years. I have a Master of Fine Arts in Animation from Savannah College of Art and Design. Wonderful school. My specialty is characters, doing characters, technical, and I'm just used to all areas of production. And one thing that I really find interesting and really intriguing about the Elite Animation Academy is when I was young, feels like a long time ago in a land far, far away, I used to go to, has anybody heard of Hollywood Studios? It used to be called MGM Studios. Yeah, and they used to have that, or I think they still do, that animation, bringing it to life, how animation's done. I was a thorn in my mother's side. We used to keep going to that place over and over again. Anytime we would go, I always wanted to go to it. Because I loved the process of animation, but I knew so little about it other than what we could see in documentaries, what we saw there. And I would have loved for a place like this to exist when I was a kid, because I would have been all over it. One thing that's really nice about the Elite Animation Academy is that it goes through the whole process of creating an animation and everything that you would be learning in college, and it makes really good preparation to kind of go to college, preparing your portfolio and kind of showing you what to expect when you get there. So it's really helpful in that process. Yes, ma'am?
How many years have you been working drawing? Like, when did you start drawing?
Well, the very first time I ever started drawing, I was very, very little crayon. Thank you. Drawing with crayons on the walls, and my family was not very happy about that. But I used to draw on paper and on anything that I could get my hands on. I loved markers. I started taking, well, I always wanted to be an animator. I always knew that. I started taking it really seriously when I hit college. And I took drawing classes. My undergraduate college didn't have any animation classes, even though they had them sometimes, but they just never had them when I was there. So I taught myself animation there, and then after I graduated from college, I wanted to become a better animator. So I went to SCAD for my master's and learned all the tricks of the trade there. Professionally, I've been working in freelance animation and illustration for about 9-10 years, and teaching for about 4 years. So he's going to be passing around some model sheets of Spongebob. Does everybody know who Spongebob is?
Yeah.
Very cool. So while he does that, we're going to talk a little bit about character design. So what he's passing around is something called a model sheet. Does anybody know what a model sheet is? What is it?
A sheet that shows you how to draw it?
Mm-hmm. Very good. It shows you how to draw a particular character. So what are some things that model sheets show? Yes, ma'am?
How to do it correctly?
Mm-hmm. It shows you the character from multiple, yes, ma'am?
Like the size and the different ways to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So what a model sheet does is exactly that. It'll show the character in different views: front view, side view, three-quarter view, back view. It also shows you the base. A lot of them will show you the basic shapes that make up the character, so that the character can be broken down into simple shapes. And if they're broken down to simple shapes, it makes them easier to draw. So we're going to be starting off with SpongeBob. Okay, so everybody should have 3 model sheets for SpongeBob. There's this one. This one shows SpongeBob in multiple views: front, back, side. And it has him drawn what's called on model, which just means the way he's supposed to look. And then on the next page, we have some notes about SpongeBob. So a lot of times, model sheets like this will break the character down and also go over common mistakes that animators and the crew will make when drawing them. For example, while SpongeBob is a square shape, a rectangle shape, he's not as angular as your typical square shape would be. He actually kind of bulges out towards the top and gets a little more narrow towards the bottom. So there's this symbol here, a more square-shaped one that says no next to it, because if he's a perfect rectangle and very angular, he's actually a little bit off model. And another one is if his edges are too rounded. And that tends to be a mistake sometimes that animators will make. So what it will do is it'll show little like wrong examples and put a little X or a no next to it that kind of explains, these are some ways that he could fall off model. And then over here, we have a breakdown of him, what he looks like, and then a breakdown of the shapes that make him. So Spongebob is very simple. We'll have a lot of fun with him. And then the last one is another breakdown. Kind of shows how his nose is drawn as well as his mouth and teeth. Does everybody have his model sheets? Good to start. So Spongebob, he is, okay, so he is rectangular shaped, but he's not a pure rectangle. Not completely stiff like that. Spongebob is actually a bit more narrow at the bottom and a bit wider at the top. And then we have this side, which gives him depth. And he's thinner on the sides than he is in the front, but still thicker on the top than he is on the bottom, even from a side view. And his pants, his squared pants, well, actually his whole outfit, he doesn't really have much of a shirt, but his shirt and pants are about this far into it, very small. And interestingly, his sleeves start above his shirt. So his sleeves are actually up here, even though his shirt doesn't technically start until down here. Interesting little...
Cartoon characters don't seem very logical.
Maybe he just puts on his sleeves separately and then puts his shirt on, and they don't need to connect, right? So he's got a little tie. He's got his little collar. And I made it too wide. Not quite as wide as that is. And he's got a really little tie. And his tie goes over his pants. And then he's got his pants, which are really high up. He either has a long tie or he's got really tall pants. Here. Okay. And his sides, like his edges, are very soft and kind of squishy looking, because he's a sponge. I wonder if somebody picked him out of the sea, if he'd squished him, a bunch of water would come out. And now his arms and legs are pretty noodly, very thin. See if there's any with his arms up. So he's got very noodly arms, very thin. And when they're down, they go a little bit past his, they hit about his knee, if they're going straight down. He's got 3 fingers and 1 thumb. A lot of cartoon characters do, actually, especially very cartoony characters. They kind of tend to forget the ring finger. They kind of just ditch it. Makes it easier to animate, I suppose. Now for his eyes, he's got really big circular eyes. And do they touch? Yes, they do. That overlap each other. Circles. And he's got 3 really big eyelashes from the top of each eye. His pupils, he's got little irises. Irises are your eye color, where you have your pupil, which is the little black dot, and your iris is the color around it.
I guess both are little.
Yep. Here we go.
Does the eye go into each other?
They actually touch right at the center. His 2 big circular eyes. They meet right at the center, right at his nose. Now his nose curves up. Curves up, extends, not that far, and then he's got his mouth. He's a very jolly guy, so he smiles a lot. And then his cheek, or the very edge of the mouth right here, actually goes up into his eye. actually, here's one fun fact. If somebody is smiling, and one way that you can tell a smile is sincere is if the smile goes into the eyes. Like you smile and it kind of softens the underside of your eye. So when he smiles, it goes into his eye. It's like that. He is buck-toothed. And his two front teeth do not touch each other, so he's got a little gap. And he's got a lot of space to open his mouth. And his chin can reach just about the top of his shirt. He's got lots of little dots, but they're not all the same size. So he's got a little one here, he's got a big one here. Little one, big one. Little one here. Little one, big one. And on the sides, he's got them too. Big one, big one, little one. And for his tongue. So you could say, he's saying hello, maybe a Squidward. So again, he's only got 3 fingers and 1 thumb. And his hand tapers into his arm, so this is incorrect. Tapers into his arm. And he should probably have his thumb away from his fingers. So he's saying hello. And he has a sleeve, so we got to keep in mind his sleeve would be about here. And he's got a belt. He's got a belt that runs across that go into the belt loops. What does he have on each side? Little belt loops. And where it overlaps the belt loops, we're going to erase it. Okay. And he wears shorts. So, and has little noodly legs, just like he has little noodly arms. And they're very short. So just draw some lines that represent where his feet are. His shorts are very short. And his shoes are relatively big, about the size of his hands. And they bend up in the front and have a little dot on them. And the dot is right at the top. So right here and right here. And he's got long socks. So I'm going to connect his legs to his shoes. And his socks run about halfway. Kind of has old man socks. And there are 3 lines that represent them. There we go. And does he have eyebrows? Not really. No, he does not have eyebrows. So let's see if we could try to draw Spongebob from a different angle using the model sheets as a reference. Now the image that we're going to be doing is not one that's featured here, so we're going to have to try and problem solve based on the information that we have. Because typically we're not going to be drawing in an animation the exact same images that you would see on the model sheet. They're just meant as a guide. So let's try doing a top-down view of him, where the camera's angled above him looking down, so it'll look like his head's down. It's going to be a little more complicated, but what is his base shape? Yes? Go ahead.
A rectangle, squarish.
Mm-hmm. Very good. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Yes, he is a rectangle. He's thicker on the top than he is on the bottom. He's a bit soft. So if we were drawing him from a top-down view, and is he thinner on the side or is he thicker on the side than he is from the front? You can look at your model sheets if you're not sure. Yes, sir. I'm sorry? He's thicker in the front or in the side? He's actually a little bit, he's wider in the front than he is on the side. On the side, he's a little bit thinner. So front view. And he's got the little, and this is just I think I made his arms too high. So a stick figure of him would look something like that from the front. And from the side, I believe he bends back. Yeah, he bends back a little bit. So from a side view, he's a bit thinner. Legs in the center. And the arm would go down here. And then his eyes would bug out, and he's got his nose. And here, the eyes are here, and he's got his nose. So if we were drawing him from a top-down view, we just keep in mind that his side is a little bit thinner than the front. So let's say, actually, let's put him, let's say he's sitting down and leaning forward. So we can do, so if this is the top of him, here are his eyes, his nose. I think I made this top too far. Everybody see okay? And from a side view, you can tell that his eyes kind of bug out a little bit. So his eyes are actually protruding a little bit from his head. And his nose kind of tapers up. And this needs to go down a little more. Let me taper this in a little. And he could be sitting. He's got little shoes. And then he can have his hands on his knees. Maybe. And there's a lot of episodes. So ideally, once you know what the character's made of, you can draw them from any angle. You can draw them from a top-down view. You can draw them laying down. So he's made of a rectangle. So if you can draw a rectangle in any position, you can draw the character pretty much in any position. Can you see okay?
No.
Can you guys see okay? Okay. Can you guys over there see okay? Okay. So on here you could be sitting on a bench, maybe waiting for Patrick. Are there benches under the sea? Probably. Doesn't he work at a fast food?
Yeah.
So if they have fast food there, surely they have benches. And he's got his little pants, or shorts, really. It's called square pants, but really his pants are kind of short. And do his teeth show when his mouth is closed? Yes, they do. Teeth do show when his mouth is closed. And you got his collar, his pants, and here. Maybe he's laying on the edge of his bed, he's tired, or cheating. Squidward had him running. Here we go. Or maybe he got knocked down by Patrick. So try and, whether it's either of these two angles or a different one, see if you can try to draw SpongeBob in a position or angle that he's not in on the model sheet. So I'll give you a few minutes for that, and then we're going to try another character. Looks like we have Simba. All right.
You guys are bold.
You want her to challenge her.
Okay. Oh, not going to make it easy for me, huh? Okay, so I'm going to delete this. I'm going to erase this, okay? Delete. This is how you can tell I'm a computer geek. Okay, we'll say goodbye to SpongeBob.
SpongeBob.
Bye, SpongeBob.
Go back to
We knew you well.
Go back to your pineapple.
Rest in peace, SpongeBob. Rest in peace.
Goodbye, SpongeBob. Okay. So we got Simba. Adult Simba. Okay. So adult Simba is made of a lot more shapes. Where SpongeBob could all be constrained in mostly a rectangle with some noodles coming out, Simba is a bit more complicated. So now he is based on a real lion. Of course, they reference real lions, but of course, being Disney, they also have their own style with it. So he's got a long body, thicker chest, and narrow waist. So we'll do a very sort of boring view of him to start with. We'll start with that side view, and then we'll try something a little more bold. So usually with a head of a character, we'll tend to start with a circle, and that's going to represent the skull, not including the snout. So you have the head shape. Now he has sort of a boxy-ish shape coming out of his skull. Can everybody see this okay? Everybody see it? Okay. Both. Okay. So he's got a bit of a boxy shape coming out, and it curves down a little bit. So he's got kind of a box shape. Now this is very basic. The front of his face is a little different than this. Okay. So, and his lips taper in. And he's got a very thick neck, which actually large animals do have very thick necks. In fact, his neck looks even thicker because of the mane, but we're going to add the mane in a little bit. And his neck is not long, but it's there. And then he's got his rib cage. In the back, he's got his hips. And I'm making them too thin here. Okay. So this represents his hips. The top of his back slopes. He's got his shoulders. And they slope down a little. And then he comes back up. So he's very thick and a bit long. And then his paws could probably fit in there, sort of a shell shape. Again, we're just going very basic to start with. He's got a long tail. And then his upper body, shoulders start here. He's got thick legs. He's very powerful, a very powerful character. Tapers down by the wrist, so this is incorrect. And this one about the same. And he's got a dew claw, a little dew claw on the side, his little thumb. Okay, and his ear is around the level of his eye. And he's got hair that kind of sticks up at the front, comes down. Got kind of two bumps in the front. His nose is a triangle. And it does show his nostrils. So his nostrils are visible. In this one, he's frowning. So more serious than he was when he was a kid. Sometimes. Unless he's with Timon and Pumbaa. And his eyes are wider in the front than they are on the corners. And he's got sort of a shape around them. And he has eyebrows. Unlike Spongebob, Simba has eyebrows. And whiskers. And he's got a large mane. So it's going to make his neck look even thicker than it was. There we go. And his other leg. I think I made him a little too stout. His body should be a little longer. And his leg's not as thick in the back. There we go. And there's Simba. Give you guys a little bit of time to draw him, and I'll go around, see how you're doing, and then we'll try Simba in a position that's not on the model sheet. Which will be fun. Okay, so we will attempt Simba in a different pose than what's on the model sheets. So far we were trying to copy this pose. I'm gonna delete, I'm a tech person. Control Z, I'm gonna Control Z it all. I'm gonna erase him, because I'm gonna need this room. And let's see if we could try to draw Simba in a pose that is not on the model sheet, but one that we can kind of use the model sheet for information. So let's see. What would be a good pose for him? We could have him sitting down. So we don't have any sitting poses to work with, so we'll have to guess a little bit. Let's try. So what I'm going to work on first is just building shapes to get the pose in. Now cats, when they sit, I believe he's going to have a big neck, and he's got a boxy mouth. We'll see how well we can get this going. So he's got a boxy. And then he's got his shoulders. So he's a quadruped. His shoulders come down. And then we'll have him sit. If he ends up too dog-like, that means I have 2 dogs. And I've never had a cat, so this will be, try not to make him look too much like a dog. Let's see, he's got his tail. And he's got his feet. He can have his other one sideways. He's very long. Okay. Again, very thick arms. So I'm just building his shapes right now. I'm not even worrying about his mane or like his eyes. His ears right now. Trying to build his basic shapes. And he's got 4 toes on the front and back. So they're segmented too much. Okay. His leg. He's got his ribs. He's thick. And then this foot is out. Got a little dew claw here. And I think I'm bulging his shoulders out too much. So put it closer to his body. Okay. So we'll start building his details out of these shapes. So from this view, he'd have 4 paws or 4 toes showing. This one, he has a little dew claws. He's a cat, so his nails aren't showing from it. Okay. So we'll start building in. Let's get one more. And I'm making his leg too thin. Just stick him up. Okay. He's got fur tufts. He's got his little nose. It's triangular-ish, but it's not a perfect triangle. So for this nose, I'm looking at the top left image as sort of a reference. So it tapers down in the front a little bit. Again, his nostrils show. His snout is broad. And the front of his lip does show, so this is drawn in. And he's got the little, maybe drawing his eyes too close together. You don't have to be drawing the same pose I am. You can put him in any pose you want. Try something different. Well, he could be laying on his back. He could be laying down, laying on his side, laying on his back, laying on his stomach. He could be running. He could be getting ready to high five Timon. He could be stalking prey. Or bugs. Doesn't he eat bugs? So he can be stalking bugs. Doesn't he eat bugs?
He does.
Yeah, Timon and Pumbaa get him into
Oh yeah.
eating bugs. Probably so he wouldn't eat them. Certainly an incentive. And then he's got some lines where his ear connects. And his mane. And it kind of bumps up towards the center. It's very thick. So it looks like it goes down towards his chest. And it kind of goes over his shoulder, over the front of his legs a bit, and a bit back. And then he's got his tail, and we can just here we go. So for this, we're just going by the information that we have on the model sheet. So, and just kind of feeling out the rest of the way. There we go. That looks somewhat like him. You put him in any pose. Put him in any pose you want. You can try this pose if you want to, but see if you can put him in any pose. He is a bit harder because his shapes aren't as simple.